Tonight, health authorities warn against complacency with COVID-19. And a major conference cancelled this weekend, but organisers find a solution.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening. There's been mass confusion and frustration across the region today following a new COVID-19 heat map released by SA Health overnight. The map is meant to show confirmed cases of the disease in council districts, but is being labelled a failure and fear-inducing. Nathan Richter has the story.
Not even Port Lincoln is immune from the coronavirus pandemic. The town's recorded its first case of COVID-19. The news broke this morning after SA Health published a map of virus hotspots across South Australia. It showed Port Lincoln as having cases, but the town's mayor was left in the dark.
Well, it hasn't been confirmed as yet. I have heard from various sources that that could be the case, but I don't know for sure.
Initially, SA Health had left Port Lincoln off the map when it was released last night. The city's boundaries were nowhere to be seen, showing no indication of the virus in the area. But the local healthcare centre took to social media, saying there were cases. The information creating community confusion and frustration.
From a personal point of view, I'd like to know if my community has been impacted by it.
SA Health later deleted the original post, adding an updated version with Port Lincoln showing cases. The member for Frome says it's not good enough, with communities, including individuals and businesses, relying on correct, up-to-date information to make major decisions.
SA Health need to be far more transparent with their information and have it regular, up-to-date stuff. And those maps there are only local government areas.
Streaky Bay and Port Pirie all found out this morning that there are cases in their districts.
It's an extra wake-up call for us to maybe we've got to take extra precautions.
Whyalla, Cleve and Cow are reported to have the highest number of cases in the region, sitting between 5 and 9 confirmed tests.
We were aware of 4 cases already here in Whyalla, and I think it's good for the community's peace of mind to be made aware of where cases are across their areas.
While we know Port Lincoln has positive cases, SA Health remains tight-lipped on where these people are visited within the town, where they've come from and whether they're in isolation. Officials are encouraging residents to not become complacent and continue practising good hygiene and social distancing.
In an attempt to adhere to self-distancing regulations, residents across the region can now access their usual medicine from the chemist without a prescription. Clare Valley pharmacists are working with the new rules following strict guidelines.
A major relief to our inundated healthcare system. Pharmacists can now give vital medicine to regular clients as part of a state government initiative.
We know that these medicines aren't a choice, people need them to survive. We've made it possible to get these medicines without having to go to a doctor to get your prescription renewed.
This Clare Valley chemist among those eager to assist the growing demand.
If you can't obviously get into the doctors, the government has allowed this new system to come about, but we do try and encourage people to still see their doctor.
This pharmacist say they'll be working under strict regulations, including the fact only existing customers will be eligible for the handout and some drugs will be excluded.
There are strict guidelines that we are following as certain situations that are happening. So each store obviously is affected differently, and as things progress we are taken into protocols.
Working closely with SA Health to receive up-to-date information on the coronavirus pandemic.
We are getting notifications every day of how the pandemic is going, and so any information, anything that we can relay on to our customers, we are.
With winter just around the corner, health authorities say it's critical people receive their flu vaccinations, especially those in vulnerable categories.
It's important that we all try and avoid getting the flu, so it's recommended from the kids to the elderly to try and get everyone covered to create that herd immunity.
The pharmacy says Mid-North residents can just walk in and receive their shot.
So that easy accessibility allows more convenience so that more of us can actually get vaccinated during this season.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Organisers of a major conference meant to be attended by hundreds of people in Whyalla this weekend have come up with creative ideas to keep the event running. The Rotary Conference will now be held online, with dozens of speakers sharing their stories via video.
Adapting to the new normal, this major conference, the last one of its kind before the Rotary districts join forces, not letting the virus get in the way.
So what we came up with was that we would do a conference online and publish it to Rotarians in our district and anyone who was invited to come along to the conference.
Although this weekend's original event is cancelled, the committee has turned to virtual online platforms, working hard to keep the conference running, especially after dedicating years to preparation.
The conference committee have worked for 2 years on this and they were not about to give it up without a fight.
It's very positive that the Rotary conference is still going ahead, but in a very different way, and they're adapting to these changing times. And it's going to be held virtually.
Whyala's mayor, along with 33 other guest speakers, pre-recording their speech for members to access online.
So I'm still very much looking forward to presenting this weekend.
And it is an opportunity for the future of Rotary to do things in different ways.
The Rotary Club also still using Whyala businesses where they can.
We had arranged with Anne's Florist to do boards, like cheese boards, bread boards, cutting boards. And we've gone ahead and got them. We got 30 of them for our speakers, so they will be given to our speakers as a memento.
The conference, usually a chance for fellow Rotarians to meet and mingle, as well as provide an economy boost for the chosen town it's in.
You have no idea how disappointing this was. It was the hardest decision that we had to make to cancel this conference. But we can't put people's lives at risk.
The committee encouraged those who were meant to attend the event to still access the online conference forum via the website. SOPHIA KONTOGONIS, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A Ceduna woman has been arrested for allegedly trying to spit on and threaten staff members at a government office. It's alleged the 62-year-old attended a government department in Ceduna last week and became irritated with staff. During the altercation, it's alleged she spat at a worker who was behind a plastic divider. The woman was arrested and charged with assault, and she's due to appear in the Ceduna Magistrates Court next week. Still to come tonight, online safety measures for children learning from home and the community reassured about freight ships in Port Pirie. Welcome back. Local leaders are raising concerns about overseas freight vessels docking in the Spencer Gulf amid the coronavirus crisis. The Minister for Primary Industries is reassuring the community though, saying crews will be working under strict regulations and won't be allowed to enter the community.
Normally welcomed, now restricted. These freight vessels are regulars at Port Pirie's dock, but there's calls precautions need to be taken.
Port Pirie in particular have vessels from overseas and also coastal vessels visiting their ports. So each state obviously having the borders closed, and anybody coming in from interstate have to have 14 days quarantine.
Jeff Brock raised concerns from Port Pirie residents in Parliament last week and demanded answers on what regulations are put in place.
And I was just questioning what procedures were in place to ensure that those people coming off had been tested for the coronavirus.
Actions have been taken quickly, with the state government implementing strict regulations.
We now see that no shore leave is to be granted unless there are exceptional circumstances, such as a medical emergency.
The Minister urging residents that these freight ships are an essential service and are not to get mixed up with the cruise ship crisis in other states.
Very, very clear. This is essential freight for primary production. And so any vessels that come into Port Pirie will be industry vessels only.
Port Pirie residents can now feel reassured that no crews will be out in the community unless necessary.
A lot of people ask me the question, so now I'm getting that message out there, and we can rest assured that every precaution has been taken with these overseas vessels coming in.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Schools around the region are adapting to learning online, with thousands of students now being taught in their homes. With increasing online platforms available to students, a national child safety organisation has created virtual programs to ensure our children are staying safe.
Bringing school to home, the new reality for students around the country. Caritas College have been implementing schooling at home since Monday and says it's been well received.
been reasonably fluent in that online space anyway, particularly for our secondary students. So although it's happened quickly, it's been seamless in some ways for some of our students and some of our teachers.
With so many students now opting for online learning, Alana and Madeline, a children's foundation, have adapted their learning packages to help with remote delivery of schooling.
So what we've done now is created a whole lot of resources for parents to be able to understand the messaging and help their kids.
Saying that this can be a trying time for many parents.
Parents are feeling overwhelmed, obviously, but feeling incompetent to ensure that their kids still have their education.
Parents also having to learn the ropes and keep up with cyber safety.
It's really just ensuring that whilst they're at home and they're online more and more, obviously having to connect with school, we're still having to ensure that they're safe.
With more students online, it's even more imperative to drive home that message for students and parents to make sure that they are adhering to all the protocols that keep them safe.
The Foundation's hopeful parents who need it will take the opportunity to learn about the virtual programs. Any student, parent or school staff who are interested can register their interest to participate in the new programs. Laura Milivanovic, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Broken Hill City Council is warning locals not to risk a hefty fine just to use the city's waste facility. Australians have been instructed to stay in their homes unless they have an essential reason to go out. Those caught breaking the regulations can face fines of up to $11,000. Council says a trip to the tip to dump household waste because of something like a clean out is not worth the heavy penalties that could come along with it. Stay with us. Coming up after the break, a Broken Hill man shares some community cheer and corn children go on a different kind of treasure hunt. Welcome back. A Broken Hill man has opened his heart this morning, personally thanking the city's emergency services for the work that they do. Following social distancing guidelines, Alan Crombie gave out gift cards to those doing a morning shop. He even dressed up for the occasion.
A small card with a big thank you.
Me clapping on the veranda like the UK did for all the health workers, they wouldn't hear me, so I thought I'd rather come down here, stand there in person and show them that I truly care for what they do.
While dressed like a restaurant maitre d' this morning, Alan Crombie wasn't taking reservations, he was handing out appreciation. As Coles opened for its community hour, giving emergency service and healthcare workers a chance to shop, Alan took the opportunity to give back.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the health and emergency care workers. Without them, we'll be in a lot of trouble. So I feel safe at home and they've got to be out in the public.
Alan lives with a disability and says he admires all the work health and service people do, especially now as coronavirus grips the nation. Wearing stylish and protective gloves whilst also maintaining social distance, he gave out 25 $20 gift cards, wanting nothing in return. A few recipients taken aback by the generous act.
They couldn't quite believe that I was saying it, and then some people were acceptable of it. They know how much hard work they're doing, so they can finally get rewarded for it.
Alan says whenever he can give back, he will. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A children's book is what usually comes to mind when you say you're going on a bear hunt. But for the Corn community, a real bear hunt has become a reality. Dozens of houses now have some furry friends hiding in the windows, waiting to be spotted by local children.
Eyes peeled. This young family taking a stroll through Corn today, on the hunt for some friendly new faces.
We're on bear hunt. Looking for some bears, finding bears.
The local kindy hoping all children around town can go for a walk with grown-ups and find some for themselves. An initiative to keep families occupied at this uncertain time.
Bring a little bit of normality back to our lives and makes us think about doing the things that make our families have fun, which is reading stories and going on treasure hunts and and just doing those fun, simple things with our kids.
Bringing the book to life for many young kids.
Going on a bear hunt, something that we've read at kindy, I wouldn't even know how many times, and the children have always been quite engaged with that story.
There's no stranger in this household.
Well, Charlie has one and Will had one when he was a baby.
And there's a treat for those who go looking at night. A heads up to look at the silos when the sun goes down. Illuminat's projecting something special for the bear hunt.
So that they can take their children down to see the really big, massive bear. And I'm looking forward to them being able to talk to me about their experiences with the delight on their children's faces when they do see this enormous bear up there for display.
And that how big it is? Or bigger?
The kids counting how many bears they've seen on the way.
1, 2, 3, 4. 11.
Members of the community are encouraged to take part in the hunt or put out a fluffy friend in their own windows.
It is a way for people to still feel connected but also remain safe.
Laura Milivanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Organisers of this year's Pro Heart Outback Art Prize have announced it will still go ahead despite the pandemic. Artist entries can now be submitted through an online digital platform.
The most prestigious art competition in the Silver City won't be struck down by COVID-19.
There's going to be a lot of isolated people, a lot of isolated artists. It's a great way for people to still engage with the gallery. It's a great way for people to maybe make new work for it.
Steps are being taken to ensure the Pro Heart Outback Art Prize goes ahead in 2020.
The business of council must go on, and we must understand about how we keep our community connected.
Named after Pro Heart himself, the prize draws plenty of attention to the mining town and to the region.
The 2019 Pro Heart Outback Art Prize attracted record entries. We had 384 entries last year.
Working closely with the Hart family, the Regional Art Gallery has modernised the competition to make it online-based this year. All entries are to be lodged digitally, and the first round of panel judging will be done remotely. The special guest judge for 2020 is Susie Muddyman from the Tweed Regional Art Gallery.
We do have the option to extend the entries for a little bit longer as well, so we might look towards doing that. At the moment, entries are open until the end of May.
$23,000 is up for grabs this year, with the winner claiming the $20,000 acquisitive prize. The artist's winning work will be added to the nationally recognised collection of the Broken Hill Gallery. The hope is still for a finalist exhibition to be held later in the year if the coronavirus pandemic has subsided.
We just look forward to seeing the quality works nominated as we have in the past.
Information on how to enter the Outback Art Prize can be found on the gallery's website. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Coming up after the break, we'll have this week's fishing tips and the weather with Brit. Hello again. Now let's hear from the experts with this week's fishing tips.
Welcome to another week around the Gulf Fishing Tips from Port Pirie. Fantastic time of the year to be fishing. It's a crossover season as we look at it. We've seen the start of our yellowfin whiting just recently. That's just because of the warm weather has been a bit late. So they're still around. We've seen King George whiting starting coming into the marketplace at the moment. So they're fantastic. And squid are on the run. And we've still got blue swimmer crabs. No better time. Wednesday this week we had a Dodge tide. So we're moving up to excellent tides for Easter, which is a week's time. Catch yourself a good feed. That's all we've got. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's Fish Tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Fishing that are still there though, some really good silver whiting out in the middle banks. Also the razor fish are really big out in the middle banks there as well. The King George whiting have made their way up the Gulf a little bit more. Still crabs available, really good and full of meat at the moment as well. Some of these really calm nights, if you get out there and try go gar fishing at night on a moonless night, try dabbing for those. And there are some squid, the odd squid starting to show up off the jetties down the shack as well. So that's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, there's still a few blue swimmers around at the moment down in Proper Bay, so if you're keen for a feed, get down there and drop some pots. There's been a few squid in our local bays as well, and also some squid taken off of some of the jetties around town. There's quite a few tommies around at the moment. Moving up to Louth Bay, there's been quite a few garfish up that way. Whiting have been a little bit patchy and the trumpeters have been pretty bad, but there have been better reports of whiting up around Moonlight Bay. Moving over to Coffin Bay, there's been a few whiting and salmon trout around the oyster racks. Well, that's all for this week. We'll see you again with more fishing tips next week.
And here's Britt Aylen with the local weather.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. We saw fine and partly cloudy conditions across the region today. 27 the top at Port Augusta and Broken Hill. Port Pirie 26, Whyalla 24, Port Lincoln a top of 23 degrees. From the satellite today, we can see extensive cloud approaching from the west, with a trough bringing showers tomorrow. Continuing with tomorrow now, we'll take a look at the Gulf waters. Winds variable about 10 knots before increasing to 20 to 35 knots about the early afternoon, easing slightly in the evening. Seas up to 3 metres. Showers forecast over most districts tomorrow. Port Augusta remaining dry and partly cloudy with an expected top of 29 degrees. Similar conditions at Whyalla 28, Corn strong winds and 27, but those showers elsewhere. Broken Hill and Port Pirie also 27, Kadina 25, Clare and Woodner 23, Port Lincoln, Coffin Bay and Cleve all with tops of 22 degrees tomorrow. Looking ahead to the weekend, showers on Saturday at Port Lincoln with partly cloudy conditions on Sunday. Cleve and Woodner both cloudy on Saturday, fine Sunday and Monday. A partly cloudy weekend for Whyalla and Port Augusta with showers expected at Kadina. Port Pirie and Clare both wet across the weekend, Broken Hill remaining fine and partly cloudy. And Louise, that brings us to the end of the forecast.
Thank you for that, Britt. And that's your local news this Thursday. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, have a lovely and safe evening. Good night.